My second prediction is that Diana Delay Down a Beat will drop the dopest album of 2021, and it will single-handedly make up for everything bad that happened in 2020.
Oh, also Diana, like maybe they'll be so desperate for any new movies to come out that Sonic 2021 is gonna have a huge audience, you know? It's gonna be a huge hit.
Well, they've got me in the audience. I'll be watching it, trust.
I'll go with you. We'll have a good time.
We'll go
Sonic.
with you, yeah. Hello, and welcome back to Chai Chatter Home Edition. We are in the first day of this new year, and today we will be discussing this past year, this new year, as well as self-development, with a side of various warm beverages. What do you ladies have today?
I have Forever Nuts, which is like the slightest disappointment because I was wanting cream of Earl Grey, but we were out.
I have a London Fog, which I made.
Oh, she home cooking.
Yep.
So I have this tea that my friend gifted me for Christmas. It's called Christmas in Paris, and it smells exactly like mint chocolate, which is crazy to me. It smells so strong, but the tea itself doesn't really taste like much. So do we want to kind of just go back through all of last year, starting with our kind of mindset and expectations that we had around this time last year?
Oh, this time last year. What a time. For the first year ever, I was actually going to have the new year, new me mindset. I remember this because it was just such a letdown. Because I remember at the start, I was already a bit rocky, and I was like, you know what? It's going to be a new year. I'm going to, be on top of everything. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. January was really good for me. January was. I think I just had such high expectations that when the entire world fell apart, it was impossible to keep up with.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Chantel. Yeah, in January, kind of February, those first couple months of 2020, yeah, I think I was in a pretty good place, just in my life. I was happy, I was excited.
For me, 2020 was going to be a substantial year because that was the year that I was going to take my SATs. I was going to get my driver's license. I was going to apply to Harvard and all the universities and stuff. And then, I was going to get, I had gotten a job. I was by the end of this year, I'll need to check off all of these things and then I'll be pretty much ready to become an adult. That was what I had in my mind. I had the play that I wrote. I had all of these projects that I was working on. We had heard news stories about COVID-19 back probably in December, I think, was when it actually kind of reached the international stage. But then nobody really felt the fact that it would go across, the entire world kind of thing until maybe February.
Yeah.
Even when Canada got its first cases, I was still shocked to be it's not going to come here though. Oh yeah, sure, maybe some of those big cities, but it's not going to get here.
No, I actually remember this one day in particular when Glenda and I were actually at the mall, and we were we were sitting somewhere outside of the mall, and we had blizzards or something. We were just talking about COVID and just how crazy it is. And that was maybe the weekend before actually school shut down.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was mid-March or something. We sat there with DQ blizzards, looking out onto the kind of barren streets where it just looked like tumbleweeds were rolling by, and then being is this the apocalypse?
Felt like it.
It really did. That time was, everybody was very lonely, but at the same time, it kind of felt the entire world was stopped. You were together in your loneliness. For the 6-month period where you guys were in quarantine, did it feel like it went by super fast? Did you get a lot done?
I guess right now in retrospect, it just seems like those months just sped by. It honestly feels like 1 month.
Yeah.
But then I sort of look back on like photos and like and videos and stuff from like when I was in that period, and I was just like, oh, that was so long. Like it was like an eternity to be living it, but like looking back on it, it felt like 4 weeks max, you know?
That's so true.
I can only partially agree with that because I was like having character developments in that. Like it was.
Me too.
I was the main character. I had developments going on. I had a plot line because like it started off in the big old dumps because like. When the last day I went to school, it was like apocalyptic. There were maybe 100 people at our school. It was so creepy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't even go that day.
Because when you have a school that usually has like 1,500 people and there's only 100 there, it's the creepiest thing. So I was like, the first like 2 months, honestly, of quarantine were so unproductive. It was sad girl hours, all hours. I started to get stuff done, you know, I started to like get that uphill path, getting some stuff done, like stuff that normally people would do as New Year's resolutions, except it's quarantine resolutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I ended up like moving out for like the summer and like that sort of thing. And like I had like all of this stuff happen. I thought even then that like, oh, it hasn't been that long. Except then I took more photos during that quarantine span than like I ever have. Because I had no one to share things with, or at least as much. Like I saw some people, but like because I saw people less. So I took pictures of like everything.
For me, it was about like a week into quarantine when I was like, I can't do like nothing for the rest of eternity. I have to like get up and do something. I like had just been kind of like sitting in bed watching anime and stuff like that. So I decided to like start working out. So I started working out the last week of March, and then I started running about beginning or like mid-April. And like this really kept me going and kept me sane because I started off like running 1 minute on, 1 minute off, and then eventually I'd increase the number of minutes or how fast I'd run every day until I did about like a 2-hour run. And then I would do that every single day. It was kind of ruthless because there were days where I literally couldn't walk, but I still was like, I'm gonna go outside. There's this one time when it was literally hailing, like you know, kind of jabbing in your face, kind of hailing, and I still ran for 30 minutes in the cold. I just really liked that there was some kind of struggle in my life. Because elsewise, if that wasn't there, then it would just be emptiness. Started like tracking my eating and stuff. I still haven't broken that streak. I still work out every day. And then I think it was the beginning of June when I started working. So I would pretty much work like 37 hours a week, which is pretty much full time. And I kind of spent the rest of quarantine doing that. So yeah, I get what Diana says, where when you're in it, it felt like an eternity, like, you know, you couldn't even really see the end of the tunnel because you didn't necessarily know if we were going to go back to school in September. But looking back, I kind of remember all of it as if it was a slideshow.
I remember it as a slideshow until I look back at the photos because, like, when I look back, at the start of quarantine, every day I would post, like, I'd make a pretty, like, you know, draw in, like, a Snapchat thing or an Instagram, whatever, and I'd make a post about what I did that day. Looking back, I was like, wow, that was like years ago in my mind.
How about the third of the year when we went back to school, or the quarter of the year?
I think that quarter was mentally worse for me. My summer was like my peak mental health. It was so good for me. Came back and I was right back where I was when school was shutting down. I'm glad we went back. I learned better in person. It's all great in that way. The mental health after having a summer where I could do whatever I wanted. I was working, I was making money, I was doing good. And then I came back and it was like, now you're back in the confines of school.
The whole thing for me was kind of like the first 2 weeks of quarantine was sort of like my little pity party where I was like, oh, I won't get to go to Vancouver. I won't get to do this and that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to Vancouver. And then like after that, I was just like, you know what? There's really no point in, I guess, like just thinking about like what you could have had, because like things happen and you just kind of gotta live with it, you know? That's just life. So it's fine. You're gonna have your own things to do here at home. And probably like my main project of the summer was I made a vegetable garden, which was something I've been meaning to do for like years. So we got like literally like 5 tomatoes and like 1 pepper, but like, you know what? It's the thought that counts. And then coming back to school was kind of just like, I don't know, I was happy to go back to school just because having school taken away from you kind of makes you a bit more appreciative of it. But
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. For me, going back to school was kind of a clash between the identity I had the past 3 years of high school, clashing with the parts of me that I rediscovered in quarantine.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Right? Like, it was like, me in quarantine was kind of living more for myself, like kind of going after goals that I really wanted instead of, the kind of usual rat race that was what I was doing before. But then, when I got back to school, it was like, no, I'm taking the SATs again. I'm, like working myself to the bone, like 4 hours every single night. That whole October was crazy.
Yeah.
4 hours of work every single night, plus like 15 hours over the weekend. And then, like having that, the YouTube channel, and then just getting super caught up back into the rat race.
I saw a thing where someone proposed the idea of, if you could forget 2020, would you? What do you guys think about
No.
that?
I would not.
no, so that's like a whole year. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah, I also would say no. It was someone who had like a really bad mental health
Yeah.
streak, and they were like,
Oh.
"Would you
I can
guys forget
understand that
2020?"
then,
Like,
yeah.
I don't think I would though, because even if like you had like those super deep bottom moments, at least for me, like middle and end of my quarantine was good. I got to experience having a relationship. I had all these experiences that like helped me grow and become better and that sort of thing. So I think those are the sort of things I'm gonna try and focus on from this year rather than COVID.
Yeah. Like, I personally had a lot of failures looking back.
Yeah.
Like I took my SATs twice and it improved a lot on the second time, and it was like a really high score, but my personal like stupid standards, same thing with like my YouTube channel. I had all these things, expectations going in, didn't, work out. I just failed my driver's test like literally 2 days ago. That was a great way to end off the year. All of these things that were kind of personal failures, and they really, really hurt every single time, especially because a lot of the goals, no teacher, no coach, no parent was there to be like, hey, you need to get this done. It was all like self-motivated. Whenever I failed those, it just felt even worse, feeling kind of like crap. But that's a thing you have to go through, especially as you're growing up. Just learning like how to deal with failure. Even though it really was like a crappy year in that sense, I feel like if I didn't have that, I would need to probably go through those experiences anyway sometime in the future.
Yeah, I definitely
true.
see that.
Yeah.
That's like also, like I just said, like, focusing on the good stuff, but also the bad stuff was super important. All of the failures, all of the struggle, like that all is
Yeah.
what made those good things happen.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
See, kind of how I
Yeah.
see it is just like 2020, you got to take the good and the bad, because like
Yeah.
if you kind of compare 2020 to like prior years, or you focus too much on like all the failures and the what could have beens, I guess, of course you're going to be disappointed, because I think everyone would be disappointed. It's not been a productive year really for anyone. If you take it for like what it is, I guess, and all the things that you have accomplished, like Glenda with the running and like Chantel with your job, then you know what, there's some good in it.
I think we've all developed a good sense of like realism and skepticism when it comes to hope. Because, like we talked about how our expectations were last year and how this year we're going like very slowly into it. We're not having that high of expectations.
You see, you're saying that, except oddly enough, I caught actually just last night I realized it. Whenever anyone asked about like what like we thought 2021 was gonna be like, I've realized that what I've been saying is I always start with, I have hoped that. And I have no idea where that came from. But I've been saying that all the time when I'm like, I have hope that like, and I'm like, whoa, why am I suddenly hopeful again? I've been saying all year, it's not like it's going to magically go and get better once you hit a date. Like everyone's like, once 2020 is over, it'll be all better. Well, no, it's not like suddenly the day switching over changes anything.
Yeah. But it gives you the opportunity to allow yourself to feel hopeful. I feel like that's all New Year's is, right? Because obviously, like practically, yes, it's just a new year, just a higher number.
Yeah.
But it like the reason why people view it as a fresh start, as like a benchmark, because it kind of just gives you the opportunity, a time frame to let yourself start feeling differently about something.
And even if that is a false hope that you're having, that hope is still like important. It still is an important thing to have that, well, it can get better. It will get better at some point. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it will eventually be better.
I also think that sort of relates to like the whole New Year's resolution thing, because I know that there's sort of this opinion that it's like, oh, New Year's resolutions are stupid because you could always just choose to change yourself any day of the year. But like, okay, then if you can choose to change yourself any day of the year, why not January 1st? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
That's an excuse for people to do it. If someone wasn't going to change all year, this is then the excuse for them to do it. So how do you guys feel about these resolutions?
I made a few. They're pretty like vague, pretty broad. It's not like you will do 50 sit-ups a day, you know, but like but that makes it more easily achievable for me. So my New Year's resolutions for 2021 are, number 1 is to just generally be a more understanding person, I guess. You know, less judgmental. Number 2 is to get my driver's license. I've been meaning to do this one for a while, and there has been some obstacles in the way, but you know what? This year, I will get it. Number 3 is just to document everything, or at least as much as I can, you know? Just because, I don't know, I'm very much a nostalgic person, and I really love like looking back on like
Me too. Yeah.
like I don't know journals, which we did in the other episode, and just like writings and just like objects from the past or whatever. So I think it'd be really great if I made that stuff now so I can enjoy it later. 4th one is just like something that's honestly probably always a resolution of mine, which is just like to take more initiative, you know, and just not procrastinate as much as I do. And, you know, just like if you need help, I just need to learn how to ask for it.
I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about self-development when it comes to my resolutions.
Okay.
So I have been reading this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and one of the biggest principles in it, so it basically teaches you how to build habits and kind of explains how your little habits compounded together can have huge changes in your everyday life. So one of the biggest like kind of principles in this book is about how you should not necessarily frame your work ethic in terms of goals, but rather your systems. Another way to put it is like not the destination, but the journey that you take. And I realized that in the past year, I've been so miserable because it's all dependent on whether I reach my goal or not, and not improving a little bit every single day. I was like, you know, I want this many subscribers for my YouTube channel, and I never allowed myself to actually celebrate like how far I've come because I didn't hit the milestone, and I was like, I'm a failure. And I think the one thing I did really well with my fitness was that I never set a goal. I never was like, I want to be 118 pounds. So I don't call them resolutions now. I'm gonna call them stepping stones. Doesn't make that much of a difference, but I really like the reframing of that concept. So 500 days of fitness, save $20,000, continue with the podcast, improve at driving, and get my license. I say improve at driving because, you know, you can pass a driver's test but still not necessarily be a good driver.
That's true. That's true.
And I just don't want to die young from a car
Same.
accident. So, right? Yeah.
Oh my god.
You know, for my YouTube channel, create 50 videos, move out at 18, write daily, read 20 books. Before I used to do like read a book a week or something, but that was never gonna happen. That was never gonna happen. So 20 books I think is quite manageable. Crush the AP exams. Maybe I could pass, maybe I could fail, but
Oh, I'm
pass.
so nervous for
Just
that.
pass. Yeah. So those are the stepping stones I've come up with so far, and I have, you know, other like general things that I'm not necessarily going to write down because they're hard to measure, but things like becoming an adult. Those are my resolutions.
Okay. I think for my resolutions, I didn't write them down. I've always had an issue with resolutions. I, like, no matter how much I say, you know, it's a point for people to start if they weren't going to start anyways. For me, I find that if I say I am starting on this exact day, then it won't happen. I'll do it that day, and then it'll be like, oh, I have to do it or else, and then there's just that or else that's weighs on me, and then it doesn't end up happening. So for me, I have for most years, I start implementing any resolutions I want like mid-December, early December. That way, I can already start building the habit. That way, you don't have that New Year's like, oh, I failed already, you know?
Yeah.
Because then you already are starting off on a basis that you're already improving. So my sort of goals this year are mostly vaguer things. Like, I want to be putting myself first more and be focusing on what I need rather than being the people pleaser I am. Because I have a big issue with, I always am like, oh, well, I'll do this though instead because it'll make this person happy. I do want to exercise more. Not going to put a number on that. I already exercise like a decent bit, but I want more. I want to get better at writing things out, like a diary format sort of a thing. I think that I've always said throughout my life, I'm bad at diaries. But like, that's sort of a dumb thing to say. So I'm going to see if I can improve that, if I can get better at writing and processing and that sort of stuff. So it's mostly like reflective stuff, like well-being stuff that I just want to get better at.
Do we feel like our goals this year are more realistic than they were at the beginning of 2020?
More realistic.
I would say more realistic, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Me in 2020 was like, I'm gonna be so good. I'm gonna... Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was literally the new year, new me mindset, except like I still did start it like mid-December, but then probably like end of January it had already fallen apart.
The successes that we have at the end of this year were not something that we expected back in January. You know, like Chantel, you moving out and living by yourself for a month. I don't know, like if you, yeah, right? I don't think you had the resolution to like move out and learn what it felt like to be like independent and by myself. And for me, I never dreamed that I was going to get into fitness and now be like a health nut or whatever. Because I was like, ew, these people are so like, what? Nutella forever. I still eat Nutella every single day, but I just do it in a very small amount. So you can still cheat that.
My main thing with resolutions this year is maintaining. My goals aren't to really like, I need to reach this thing. I need to either stay where I am, and maybe by just staying where I am, that'll be an improvement.
Like when it comes to weight loss or something, right? You always see like the dramatic transformations on TV where people just reach their weight goals and lose like, 100 pounds or something. But then maintaining that weight is actually so much harder than reaching it, right? If you don't enjoy working out or eating clean and you just try to lose weight for the goal of hitting a number, you're going to relapse.
Okay, if no one else has anything to say on that, I propose we move on to the fun sort of thing we jotted down before we started filming.
Our little predictions
Are we all good with
for
that?
2021.
Yes.
I'm all right with that.
Yes!
Yeah. Okay.
My COVID prediction is rooted in what has been happening. At least I only have been hearing about it recently. So there is a new strain of the virus going around that's supposed to be worse. And it's really bad in the UK right now, I heard. The US now as well. The vaccine that's starting to go out. But I have a feeling that with new strains now being found and strains being worse, I think we're still going to have a lot of issues with it. But I have hope that then, because we've already gone through a year of this, I've heard so many people be like, I'm so done with this. I just want to have whatever period of time is important to them. So then I think that hopefully there will be enough people ready to do those preventative measures that will be able to stop it at some point.
Well, now with this new strain that I just heard about now, I don't know if this is going to happen, but if COVID does die down somewhere in 2021, my prediction is that people are going to party like crazy. It's going to be the Roaring Twenties Part 2, and Gatsby will still be dead. He's been dead for a while, but you know what? Gatsby 2.
I'm hoping that the stock market booms. It's already starting to boom way more than it was in March, but I'm hoping it keeps booming so that I keep making money. My prediction is that I think that the anti-vax movement is going to flare up a lot outside of the regular anti-vax movements. Because think about it, right? Those guys were skeptical about vaccines that took years to develop. If it's already been a year of this virus and they're still not smartening up, then I don't know what it'll take,
Yeah, that's true.
What are your other predictions that you guys have?
Prediction is in later 2021, we are going to have what I'm calling the travel apocalypse. No one will be willing to stay somewhere for more than they have to. So if you aren't required to be somewhere for school or work or somewhere, I feel like because of all of the businesses that finally can start making money with this business again, I think everything's going to be so cheap, so many package deals, so much everything, that late 2021, for some reason, travel is going to just skyrocket up. Like they're just gonna be like, I just need to get out of the house now. Like, this is our chance. Like, people are gonna be so excited. They're gonna be like, let's go everywhere. And I feel like people are just gonna be traveling an absurd amount.
Yeah, I agree. So, did you guys hear about President Trump pardoning, like, I think it was 23 people?
I don't think I did. I haven't been...
A lot of these people have been indicted for treasonous crimes, for making contact with Russian agents, with like mismanaging campaign money. The thing that they have in common is that they all did not rat Donald Trump out. But he can easily be charged with his own crime for the mismanagement of his pardoning power. So what I think will happen is that a couple days before the end of his presidential term, he'll resign, and then Mike Pence will become president. He'll have Mike Pence pardon him.
All right, so I have two. So number one, do you guys know the Sonic movie?
Yes.
One that came out this year?
Oh no.
Unfortunately, I do.
So my prediction is, in 2021, they will announce the Sonic movie sequel, and it will be fantastic. And you know what? If they are hiring people to be a part of this Sonic movie executives, I want in. Okay, I know a gold mine when I see one.
It'll be the next Emoji movie.
It really will. You know, but the thing is, the Emoji movie didn't get a sequel, but Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, definitely will, and I'm very excited. My second prediction is that Diana to Lay Down a Beat will drop the dopest album of 2021, and it will single-handedly make up for everything bad that happened in 2020. That's what my prediction is.
Well, wait, where did you get this info? I thought this was like top secret.
I don't. This is not an announcement. This is just a prediction. You know, she has yet to say anything, but you know.
Wow.
Yeah, this isn't an announcement. Just to make that clear, I'm gonna get calls from my manager, telling me off for my little.
For your little hint drop.
For my little hint.
Little tease. Sprinkle in there.
So yeah, those are my predictions.
I think my other prediction would be that we are going to have another major style shift, like for fashion. I think that it's going to go back, and we're going to choose another decade to be dressing like. I'm thinking that it's possible that we're going to have like the like 70s sort of hair where it's super floofy again.
So I think what they're going to do is take like all of the things that make TikTok successful and Vine successful and just have a baby with that.
I'm just willing to take it as it is. And Glenda, as you said earlier before we were recording, what did you say about Fate?
Oh, I feel like Fate is way more creative than we could ever be.
That's very true, very true.
Anything is possible when it comes to life, and even though things will still suck, they will not be earth-shattering. I'll be like, you know, we'll get past this. So
That's true.
I feel like that was the most valuable thing that we could have taken away from 2020. Is just that like resilience and fortitude.
Thank you all for listening while we get deep while the tea steeps here on Chai Chatter. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you all again probably next week. So,
cheers! Dink!
Ooh.